The black van. It's been 5 years since this happened, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to put the pieces together. My wife Carol and I were doing some last-minute Christmas shopping. We hit up a shopping mall in the suburbs of New York City on December 23rd. Crazy, I know. It's going to be a chaotic mess, right? But members of her extended family had just announced they'd be joining in on the holiday festivities, and we didn't want to leave anyone empty-handed. After a while, Carol and I decided to split up. We had 5 people to shop for, including 3 kids of vastly differing ages. I was tasked with finding gifts for Carol's cousin Joe and oldest son Riley. I settled on a flask for Joe and a Yankees jersey for Riley. Then I headed back to the big tree in the center of the mall where we agreed to meet. But Carol didn't show. 15 minutes passed, then 30. I tried calling her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. The mall was still packed. Panic started to creep into my chest. I kept looking, moving up and down the concourse, peeking into every store. I was starting to feel lost myself. Finally, after what felt like hours, I made my way to the customer service desk. I figured I could ask if anyone had seen her. The crowd had thinned considerably, but there was still no sign of Carol. I was desperate. A security guard stood behind the counter. "Hey, I'm trying to track down my wife. Her name is Carol. She's about 5'5", blonde hair, wearing a red jacket," I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. The guard barely looked at me. He was fidgeting, his hands twisting around his walkie-talkie, like he couldn't keep still. No, sorry, sir. I haven't seen anyone matching that description. But I can check the security cameras. Just wait here." He turned and started down a long hallway, separate from the main part of the mall. It looked like there may have been offices or storage down there, and probably the security room based on what he had just said. "I can help you look," I started, thinking it made a lot more sense since I actually knew what Carol looked like. "I said wait here," he interrupted, cutting me off. "I'll be right back." I waited as long as I could, but didn't have the patience for this. My heart was racing. I needed to find Carol. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for him to check whatever footage. Without thinking, I followed down the hallway. Near the end of the hall, there was what appeared to be a security office with a bank of monitors connected to cameras throughout the mall. But it was empty. Farther ahead was a door to the outside that was being held open with a cinder block. Confused, I pushed my way through. The cold hit me hard, but I barely noticed. My eyes scanned the parking lot. I thought I saw something, movement up by the side of the building. The security guard was there, heading around the corner. I had to follow him. I jogged after him, my footsteps pounding the pavement, adrenaline coursing through me. As I rounded the corner, I saw a black van facing my direction, the engine running, side door open. The security guard hurried to it and climbed inside. "Hey!" I shouted, rushing forward. "What the hell is going on?" The door slammed shut before I could get any closer. The engine roared and the van accelerated, its tires screeching as it tore forward. My heart dropped. I just knew Carol was inside the van. I couldn't explain it, but I felt it in my soul. I ran out in front of the van, waving my arms, trying to get the driver's attention. I didn't care if I was making a fool of myself. I had to stop it. I had to save her. But the van didn't stop. It barreled down on me. At the last moment, finally realizing the driver was willing to run me over, I tried to leap out of the way, but I was too late. The van clipped me, sending me flying through the air. The last thing I remember was a jolt of pain. Then everything went black. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital room, my body battered and broken. I had multiple fractures, cuts, bruises, and spent 6 weeks in recovery. The police were in and out, asking me questions, trying to piece together what had happened. But Carol? They never found her. Not a trace. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. The following year, I went to church weekly, and then every day as we got closer and closer to Christmas. I prayed for her return, hoping someone would find her. But eventually, the hope faded, and so did my faith. Now, every year, I do something different. Every day in December, I go to one of the shopping malls in North Jersey or on Staten Island or Long Island, and I look for black vans. Deep down, I I still believe Carol is out there, and maybe, just maybe, I can find her. And if I can't find Carol, then maybe I can find the people that took her. The Request. It was Black Friday, my senior year of college. Me and my roommate Jason braved the crowds at Best Buy to snag the deal of a lifetime. A 65-inch TV, marked down from over $1,000 to under $400. We had it all planned out. Get in, get the TV, and get out. Simple, right? The store was packed, the fluorescent lights flickering above, and the air smelled like a mix of stale popcorn and fast food. People were shoving carts and arguing over deals. Jason and I found the TV section and grabbed the model we wanted with surgical precision. I was just thinking how good it would look in our living room when she walked up. She was tall, with dark hair and big brown eyes, and a killer body. She smiled at us, not like a regular smile, but one that felt a little too deliberate, like she had an agenda. "Hey guys," she said, tilting her head and batting her lashes. "You buying a TV?" Jason nodded. "Yeah," he said. "It's a good deal." "Nice," she said, stepping closer. "So, if you're buying one for yourselves, how about buying one for me too? I mean, it's a great deal, like you said, right?" I blinked, trying to process what she'd just said. At first I thought she was joking, maybe messing with two college guys who looked like they didn't know how to handle a conversation with a hot girl. You serious?" Jason asked, laughing awkwardly. She didn't laugh back. "Of course," she said. "I could use a new TV. So why don't you spread a little holiday cheer? And then maybe we could work out a way for me to say thank you." Jason and I looked at each other, and I could see he was just as confused as me. She wasn't joking. "Sorry," I said, taking a step back. "We can't buy you a TV." Her smile dropped, and her eyes narrowed into a glare. "You're not? What are you guys, a couple of broke losers?" Jason laughed. "Yes," he said, "we are. Just a couple of broke college kids. But I'm sure you can find some boomer to buy you a TV for the right kind of thank you." She continued to glare at us, her chest rising and falling as she fumed. I half expected her to slap Jason, or worse. But instead, she turned sharply and stormed off, disappearing into the chaos. Jason and I just stood there, stunned. "What a nut job," I said. "Did she really think that would work?" "With that body, she'll probably find some simp to buy one for her," Jason said. We laughed it off and headed for the checkout. We bought the TV, eager to get home and out of this crazy mess. But as we walked through the parking lot, things got a whole lot darker. From the shadows, near a row of parked cars, a giant guy stepped into view. Tattoos covered his arms, neck, and face. His eyes fixed on us like a predator stalking its prey. "Give me the TV," he growled. I glanced at Jason, my heart racing. What the hell is this? The girl appeared beside him, her expression twisted in rage. You promised you'd buy it for me," she screamed. Jason took a step back. "We're not giving you anything." The guy, who was easily 6 inches taller than either of us, took a step forward, reaching for the TV. Jason and I both held on tight, pulling back as he tried to take it from us. He was strong, way stronger than either of us, but together it seemed like we might be able to hold him off. That's when the girl jumped on my back, her nails digging into my face. I yelped, trying to grab her wrist and shake her off, but she was relentless. The guy was almost there, his hands on the TV, but I managed to yank her off my back, throwing her to the ground. She hit the pavement hard with a sickening thud, and for a moment, the guy hesitated, kneeling down to check on her. Jason didn't hesitate. He kicked the guy in the face like he was trying to make a 60-yard field goal. The guy fell over, dazed, giving us just enough time to run. We sprinted the rest of the way to my car. I tossed the TV in the back seat, and we jumped in. I slammed the car into reverse, peeling out of the parking spot. I glanced in my rearview mirror. He was already up, eyes burning with fury. The whole world seemed to stand still as he pulled a gun from inside his jacket. "Go, go, go!" Jason yelled. I floored the gas pedal, tearing out of the lot and onto the highway, my mind racing. If he fired, I didn't hear it. I took the long way home, making random turns to shake any potential tail. By the time we reached my place, it was way past 3 a.m. We were dead tired, mentally, physically, and emotionally drained. Jason sank onto the couch, shaking his head. "I guess some people will do anything for a deal," he muttered, staring at the TV we almost lost. When the Super Bowl rolled around, we hosted a party for our friends, and Jason delighted in telling everyone the story. In his version, the guy was 7 feet tall and absolutely shot at us as I did some fast and furious driving to escape. I laughed along, but I have to admit, I still look over my shoulder whenever I'm on that side of town. For some reason, I feel like we haven't seen the last of either of them. False advertising. I'll never forget Black Friday, my senior year of high school. It was supposed to be just another crazy shopping day, but what happened in that store, well, it was something I never saw coming. To start with, I'm a girl, and at the time I was 17. I had taken a job at the local department store a few months earlier. The pay was decent, and I was looking for any excuse to avoid homework. But nothing, not even the worst day of high school, could have prepared me for that morning. I reported to work in time for our 6 a.m. opening. The store was packed with customers, eager for the big deals Mr. Witten, my boss, had been advertising for weeks. TVs for $99, luxury bedding for 60% off, and gold jewelry at prices that seemed too good to be true. Everyone was buzzing about it, even the customers. But deep down, I had a nagging feeling that something wasn't right. Mr. Witten had promised big, saying he could beat the big retail chains, but I didn't know just how far he'd go to make a sale. As soon as the doors opened, the madness began. People rushed the aisles like there was no tomorrow. I was stationed at the front with the other cashiers, just trying to keep up with the lines that stretched to the back of the store. The chaos started almost immediately. Customers started bringing up the TVs, the ones that were supposed to be selling for $99. But when we scanned the barcodes, they were ringing up for $350. It made no sense. I remember feeling the heat of panic rise in my chest as I looked at the computer screen. There had to be a mistake, right? But the system wasn't wrong. One by one, more customers started pulling out the flyers with the deals clearly printed on them, holding them up in front of us. "This was the price on the flyer," they yelled. "Why is it so much more now?" I tried to explain that I had no control over the prices, but no one was listening. Mr. Witten had hidden himself in his office, leaving us to try and manage the frenzy. It was like a bomb had gone off, and we were stuck in the middle of all of it. By 8 a.m., the situation was out of control. Shouting customers filled the aisles, demanding answers. One of my coworkers figured out what was going on. The first item sold would get the discounted and advertised price. But after that, everything would ring up for full price. Mr. Witten didn't bother to tell any of us about this trick. A man who had been there since 6:01 a.m. wasn't having it. He grabbed a TV off the shelf, the one that should have been $99, and smashed it into a display of computer monitors. The sound of shattering glass filled the air, and it was like a switch flipped. Everything went insane. People started throwing things, shelves were tipped over, merchandise was sent flying. Then they started running. First it was just a few, but before long it was full-on riot. Customers grabbed whatever they could get their hands on, clothes, jewelry, TVs, and bolted for the exits. The security guards, the woeful few Mr. Witten had on duty, tried to stop the chaos, but they were vastly outnumbered. It was like the entire store had turned into a war zone. I was at the register when a man jumped over the counter. I froze, my heart pounding. He pointed to the register and looked at me with wild eyes. "Open it," he screamed, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, crying, shaking on the floor. And that's when Josh, a coworker, stepped in. He didn't hesitate. He punched the code into the register, then the one next to it, unlocking them both. "Knock yourself out," he said, leaving the cash to the thief. Then, without a word, John grabbed me by the arm and pulled me toward the back. When we got outside, I saw Mr. Witten standing by his car in the parking lot. When he saw us coming, he tried to wave us back inside. "Get back in there," he shouted, panicked. John didn't even flinch. He shoved Mr. Witten aside and led me to my car. We didn't stop to look back. The store was wrecked, and the story hit the local news like a storm. Mr. Witten was dragged through the mud for his false advertising. In the immediate aftermath, the clueless oaf actually threatened to sue us employees for not stopping the mob. He backed off when he realized it just made him look even worse. But it didn't matter. He had no case. No one could have done anything. The store never reopened after that, and none of us would have gone back, even if it had. Mr. Witten wanted to get people into his store that day, but he learned the hard way that when you don't follow through on your promises, you'll pay the consequences. Thanks for listening, friends. If these scary and allegedly true holiday shopping stories made you want to do all of your Christmas shopping online, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you next time with more whispers from the pines.